Hotep. What's up, everybody? Coming back at you with another video. Doing this video because I want to stimulate a little bit of thought. Have you ever asked yourself what exactly happened to the dinosaurs? What happened to the Atlanteans in Atlantis? What happened, or not what happened, but why did the ancient Egyptians obsess in burying themselves a certain kind of way? Why did the Mayans disappear? So things people need to really think about. What happened? What's going on this planet we call Earth? Now what it is this. There are parallel Earths. There are 7 different Earths. 7 different realities. Now keep in mind, these Earths or realities are different from dimensions. Because not only do you have different dimensions, but you also have different Earths. Within each reality, there are various dimensions. You see, and this is where scientists are just now catching up with the ancients, because now they're speaking on the multiverse. They're speaking on the fact that there's not just one universe, but there's a multiverse. But believe it or not, there's 7 different universes, according to my research, and according to what the ancients have discovered as of yet. 7 different universes. And there's 7 different Earths. And you exist as a being in 7 different realities. There's 7 different yous. And I'm going to help you to make sense of what I'm saying. Now, a lot of scholars out there, people that call themselves master teachers and things like that. And I'm not knocking what they're calling themselves, but I'm just pointing things out. So a lot of masters and scholars out there that are teaching you information, but they're getting you caught up on teaching you more so history. Like, say, for instance, many of the Egyptologists out there. Yeah, they're teaching Egyptology, but they're only teaching what you would call history of Egyptology. And what do I mean by this? History is basically something that is agreed upon by a group of individuals. And that becomes your history. Many of you have heard this. If we all agree that Martin Luther King walked the earth, then that becomes history. And I'm not saying he didn't, I'm just using that for an example. So this is what history is. It's basically a set of facts agreed upon by a group of individuals. Or it might not even necessarily be facts sometimes. So basically a set of beliefs, that's a better way of putting it. Agreed upon by a group of individuals. Facts or beliefs. Now, many of the scholars out there are teaching history and trying to get us to understand the ancients and how they did things. And this is where I separate myself from a lot of different teachers and scholars out there. Because, as I said in other videos, I get into channeling. I get a lot of my information from meditation. I get a lot of my information from decoding light codes. So, not only do I study history, but the ancient Egyptians knew that, and not just the ancient Egyptians, but the ancients knew about the now. And the now is a compilation of the past, the present, in the future. And see, what happens is when you limit yourself to history, you're not dealing in the now. And as a channeler, I deal in the now. And the now, as I said, is past, present, and future. Now, why is this important in understanding parallel Earths? It's important because of this. The Earth exists in 7 different realities, combined in past, present, and future. So when you limit yourself to what scholars are teaching you about history, you're blocking yourself off from the now. Because when you base the, say for instance, the age of the Earth upon history, then you're missing the whole point. You're missing the whole point, and you're missing the spiritual aspect. See, this is the part that a lot of the scholars aren't teaching, the spiritual aspect of the now and of reality. You see, our reality is not just about the past. It's not just about the future. It's about now. Because really in truth, the only time is now. But like I said, now exists in the past, present, and future. So the Earth has parallel realities. There's parallel Earths. This planet Earth exists in different realities. Now, the ancient Egyptian civilization still exists. Ancient Egypt never fell. I know you're like, what are you talking about? Egypt is gone. The people that built those structures are no more. Egypt did fall. What are you talking about? No, you're not getting it. You're dealing in history. See, Egypt didn't fall. They just transported their civilization into another reality. The Egyptians were master scientific spiritualists. That's what I call them. They were master scientific spiritualists, meaning that they weren't just dealing in this type of science where we deal with, where it's a linear science. This is what we call linear science. They didn't look at time as being linear. You see, the Egyptians looked at time as a circle. And as you know, a circle has no beginning or end outside of those people that drew the circle. The only people that know the beginning and end of a circle is the person or the group of people that drew it. And this is what the ancient Egyptians deal with. When they dealt with reality, they dealt with reality as a circle. So what they found out is that, and not just the ancient Egyptians, but the Atlanteans as well, they found out that they could transport their civilization into a new reality. See, they found out that the third dimension, or what we live in as the third dimension, the priests of ancient Egypt found out that the third dimension was basically a prison. It's a prison planet. This is what the reality that we live in is, a prison planet. And they found out that individuals and beings here are enslaved based upon their senses. See, this creates a prison for you. Seeing, tasting, touching, feeling can create a prison for you if you don't understand the concept of past, present, and future, or the concept of now. Because it will help you, it will make you to think that reality is based on exterior factors. And the ancient Egyptians, when they began to go deep into themselves, they began to find out that reality exists on different levels. There are different universes. Each universe has its own set of rules. Each universe has its own different levels. Now, have you ever asked yourself, this is a very interesting thing I want you guys to think about. Why did the ancient Egyptians bury themselves the way that they did? Now, those of you that are really deep into the occult, you know that when you leave your body behind, this shows a lack of spirituality. Meaning that if you die and you leave your shell behind, that's kind of like a criminal leaving behind evidence in the spiritual world. What do I mean by that? Those of you that are familiar with Hinduism and the ancient Hindus, you know that the Hindus believe in cremation. Rightfully so, because when you cremate yourself, you aren't leaving the shell behind, meaning that you can ascend based upon the fact that there is no shell that is left behind, called the physical body. When you study the occult, you'll find out that the spirit, once it leaves the body, when the body is left behind here on earth, the spirit tends to hover around the body. For long periods of time. Some spirits never leave the earth dimension. Why? Because they left their body behind. They left their shell behind. This is why a lot of so-called superstitious people back in the days and even now don't want to live across the street from cemeteries or don't want to build a house over an old cemetery, because they know that there are ghosts, what they call ghosts, that are still living in those cemeteries. Have you ever asked yourself why those ghosts are still living in those cemeteries? Because they never separated themselves from their body. They left the shell behind. So they're still attracted. See, when you die and when you transform, you go into a higher law, and the law is called the law of attraction. So they were still attracted to the body based upon the fact that the body was still left behind. So this is why the ancient Hindus believed in cremation. Now, have you ever asked yourself how come the ancient Egyptians didn't deal with cremation? You would say, well, they didn't know. That couldn't have been the truth, because we know that most of the ancient Hindu doctrine came from a tribe of Egyptians that left out of Egypt and went into the land of India. So it's a group of a group of Egyptians. So they had to have got their information and their doctrine from ancient Kemet. What happened was that, and I can go into this in other videos, but this is not what I'm covering, they disagreed. So they left out. When they left out, they wanted to use the sciences one way, the spiritual sciences one way, and the ancient Egyptians wanted to use, when I say they, I'm talking about the Hindus, wanted to use the spiritual sciences one way, whereas the ancient Egyptians wanted to use the spiritual sciences another way. And they disagreed. See, the higher priests would keep it a secret. See, they found out that it was another reality. And this is why they were so obsessed with the way they buried their dead, and the pharaohs were so obsessed with burying themselves with objects. Recently, it was a news article that came out that they found pounds of marijuana inside of one of the pharaohs' caskets. You ask yourself, why were they burying themselves with jewelry and all of these mundane things or whatever? If they're about to go transform to another world, why are they burying themselves with these things? They're burying themselves with these things because they found out about the parallel reality, you see, and they knew how to transport their civilization to this new reality. So what am I saying? I'm saying that the ancient Egyptians, who got a lot of their information from the ancient Atlanteans, before Atlantis fell, they found out about the same thing that the ancient Atlanteans found out, some of them, the priests. And they found out about the parallel reality, about how they could transport their civilization into a new reality. And this is what the pharaohs were doing when they buried themselves the way that they did. This is what they were doing. They were transporting themselves to a new reality. So there's parallel Earths. The Mayans didn't just disappear. No. Mayans didn't just disappear. Some of them went underground and became extraterrestrial beings. But another group of them found out about the parallel reality, and they transported themselves into this new reality. Even the Mayans, if you go to the Mayan civilization today and you speak with those people that call themselves the Mayans today, they will tell you that they aren't the ones that built those structures over there. The group of people that are calling themselves the Mayans are not the same group that built those structures over there. So you have to ask yourself, where did they go? What happened to them? You see, a lot of them left this reality, left this universe. They figured out a way to create wormholes and portals to transport themselves into new realities. And there's various ways to do this, which I won't go into here. There's various ways to do this. Through the mastery of astrology is definitely the key. The mastery of astrology. Not this astrology that most people are thinking about. This is a higher level of it. This is how you transport civilization. So yeah, I mean, the Atlanteans, the Mayans, the Egyptians, the people of Lemuria, people of Mu, they didn't just die off. They disappeared. That's right. They disappeared. And there's many masters that have disappeared, which I won't go into here. Masters disappeared. Nobody never seen them die. And you find remnants of this in the story of Enoch, because he was said not to die. You see, Elijah was said not to die. Elijah was said to be taken up, whole body, into the heavens, meaning that he didn't leave anything behind. He was totally transported into a new dimension. Now, some people might say, nah, the UFOs came and picked him up. Nah. What I'm trying to tell you is that ancient Egypt is still thriving right now. Right now. They've moved on. Their civilization is still going. Atlantis is still thriving right now. They still exist. The dinosaurs, they still exist. There are dinosaurs that exist right now. The dragons, they still exist right now. They just simply, some of them transported themselves into new dimensions. Others transported themselves into new realities. And for you to understand this, you have to understand the difference between existence and reality. This is why you don't really understand this concept, because you don't know the difference between existence and reality. There's a difference. I'm going to be going more into this in my private section I'm setting up on my website, where I will be providing private videos for members of the website. Because I'm not going to teach all this stuff on YouTube, because it's just not the time and space to do it. But yeah, I mean, there's parallel realities. It's similar to, you remember back in the days when you would play Mario Brothers, you know, I know I'm kind of revealing my age here. You know, you would play the Mario Brothers game or whatever, and you would like, it was different levels to it. And when you beat one level, you'll find out it was another level. But you couldn't see that next level till you beat that level. The game was programmed a way to where you couldn't really, you may have seen the pictures of it on books and stuff, but you couldn't really experience that level until you beat that level. So that's exactly how it is. Earth is just like that. And you have to beat King Koopa or whatever to get to the next level, the reptilian King Koopa. And this is how the Luciferians, they guard each level, because they want to keep you trapped here. But really, it's a game. You have to beat the Luciferians to get to the next level. See, their goal is to keep you trapped here, but you have to beat them. You have to beat these group of Satanists and Luciferians. And this is why you can't understand exactly what realities are, because your mind is trapped into this level. It's just like that video game where you couldn't see the next level. But then you remember you had certain people that had codes. Remember back in the days in the video games, they would put in codes and they could go through all the levels without dying because they had codes where you had an infinite amount of lives. Well, those are the people that channel information, and those are the people that go within themselves in meditation, and they can go in and out of these different realities, and they get a chance to meet up with the various different versions of themselves. So you have parallel Earths, and you have different yous that exist in each Earth. There's 7 different versions of you. That's right, 7 different versions of you. So people need to really begin to tap into the dark arts and the dark forces within self, so that they can begin to experience these different realities and not limit themselves to historical information, history, and things of this nature. There are parallel Earths. Egypt didn't fall. Atlantis didn't fall. It fell here. Why did it fall here? Because we were put and trapped into this reality called a prison planet. So they basically set up a history for us. It's really just a program. Remember in the Matrix how it was different programs? And you found out that even the Oracle was a program? That's all this, our history is really just a program. It's a computer program. This is a game. We've been programmed to think certain things have happened so to keep us, our consciousness, trapped in this reality. And once you reach enlightenment, you'll find out that This is just a game, and you can play with your energy. So you have to become an energy worker, a light worker, a dark worker, and work with energy, and you'll find out how to tap into those different realities. But you can't do it. Can't do it unless you begin to work on self and to work with energy. That's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. So I hope that helps people to understand the parallel realities and the parallel earths and how they exist. And there is a difference between parallel realities and dimensions within those realities. So you got dimensions within each reality. A reality is a set of rules. And you see the rules change depending on which reality you're in. Dimensions are levels to those realities. That's the difference. And I can do more of part 2 to this if you want me to. Now I'll leave you with this. I wanted to point this out before I close this video out. This can be proven what I'm talking about. Scientists have been keeping this from you, but I had this posted on my website at one point. I think I removed it. But it was a lady that came into this reality from a different reality. A human being lady, it looked just normal like everybody else, a human being. She was from another reality and got trapped in this reality. The way she described it was, she got on the flight to go overseas. When she landed overseas, she showed her passport, and her passport was not a passport that's issued nowhere here on this planet. It was a nation that's not even heard of here on this reality and this planet where we're at. She showed a passport, and many people that have researched this know what I'm talking about. This story leaked all over the internet. And scientists did studies on her and found out she was not crazy. She was from another reality. And she got stuck in this one. And this happened on more than one occasion. This has been happening because as we go into this shift, see, the realities are people are switching realities, and they're finding out about not only are they're tapping into their other realities and their parallel lives, but they're finding out basically that they exist on many different levels. There was another lady, she went to sleep, right? She woke up, she went to sleep, got off work, went to sleep like she always does. She woke up, her husband that she knew was her husband, there was a different man there. Her children that she thought was her children were different. And she could describe vividly how her husband that she knew of looked. And this guy was not her husband. This guy was not her husband. So come to find out, she was describing a guy that actually was her neighbor now. In this reality, this new reality that she came into, she was married to her now neighbor. She thought that basically what I'm trying to explain to you is that the person that she thought was her husband was now her neighbor in this new reality. So scientists know that this is going on. And it's more stories than that. Those are just some of them. About people that are crossing realities. That's what they call it. They're crossing realities. So there are parallel realities. There are parallel earths. You exist in 7 different levels. This is what the Truman Show is talking about. There are beings, even though we're in the quarantine and we can't escape, some people can't. If you don't know how to break quarantine, those people that don't know how to break quarantine are stuck in this reality and they can't escape. But there's beings that even during the quarantine, even though certain beings couldn't penetrate this reality, they could view us in this reality. Like the Truman Show. That's what the Truman Show is about. There are beings that are watching you as an experience. This is a part of their experience. Their experience is to watch you in this reality. And that's what the Truman Show is about. See, they don't make these movies up for no reason. They don't just come up with these movies for no reason. This is a reason why everything that's going on in Hollywood, this is modern day hieroglyphics and symbology. And they're leaving you the mysteries right in the movies. So yeah, this is basically my information on the parallel earths and the parallel realities. If you want me to do a part 2, I can. I thank you guys for watching. I'm going to leave you in peace.